9:24. The board meeting is on Thursday today because all very busy lives, including John Deal, House Majority Leader, who is Speaker in waiting on the phone via Alexander Graham Bell. Also with us is Tony Messenger, editorial page editor of the Post-Dispatch, and Jane Duker is here as well. Jane, what is going on with red light cameras? The Supreme Court, their role is to give us guidance. We've got 6 different rulings from undercourts. No one knows what's going on. You got cities saying, pay us, don't pay us. What a
chaos.
Nightmare it is with the red light cameras.
No, it's chaos, and I do think the Supreme Court needs to step in.
But they said no, we're not stepping in.
Well, no, they said no to 3 cases, but there are 2 cases that are remaining that, frankly, if they picked up those 2 cases and resolved them,
right,
it would actually take care of all. Those cases could take care of all the problems.
Gotcha.
So I think the fact that they may have said no to the first 3 in no way indicates that they're not going to pick up and take care of this problem. But it is chaos, and it's safety. I mean, this is the thing. People now, when they think the cameras are up, people do better. And they had a study in Kansas City that as soon as the cameras went down because of this uncertainty, red light violations went way up. I mean, automatically went way up, and accidents went up. I mean, the data is clear, and they're tracking it in real time just so they can show, because it's not their political process that's having the problem. I mean, their counsel is all for it. So they're not having an issue there. They're dealing with the courts. But it is very clear that when the cameras come down, people break the law. So whatever you want to say about money and whatever other arguments you have, the data is clear in Missouri. And frankly, and some of the decisions are sort of way out there as far as what now municipalities can and can't do vis-a-vis their police power. And I think, so I am very hopeful, and I do believe they're still going to pick them up, because this has far-reaching consequences beyond red light cameras.
Do we know why in St. Peter's they take a picture of the person?
I mean, they believe that's necessary. I don't think, none of the legal issues that are pending now, mandate that. But I think that, they felt from a policy decision that they wanted to do that. And the technology can accommodate that. But I think that was more of a policy decision for them.
But it seems like, doesn't it fall along the lines of, if you take a picture of the person driving, you can assess points and you can do all those other things, as opposed to just taking a picture of the license plate?
Legally, that's not true. I mean, I think a lot of people say that, but legally, it's not true.
Including at least one of the courts.
And but we have state laws.
People.
Right? No, but we have
people.
state laws that, like the school bus laws, they use a rebuttable presumption to say that even if we don't identify the driver, we're going to. And the Missouri legislature endorsed that bill. And so, I mean, it's not like this doesn't happen. And so I do think...
Are you suggesting that there might actually be contradictory laws coming out of the Missouri legislature?
No, I think they're consistent. I think the courts have messed this one up.
John Deal, what are your thoughts with this red light camera stuff?
I agree, McGraw, on your lead-in prior to the commercial, that a lot of this confusion has been met with the courts, dipping their toes in the water and causing the ripple, but they're not providing any sort of clarification on what works and doesn't work. Well, we've been working on this. I actually have a bill now on my House calendar that's out there. It's House Bill 1557, which is on the House calendar. We'll probably go to it sometime before spring break and start talking about it. But what we're trying to do in this is to address the uncertainty. So our thinking is that we would take all red light cameras out of the point system altogether. It would make an infraction. It would cap fees, and it would set processes on what a city has to go through to be able to set up a red light
Actually,
camera.
a good bill.
That's really necessary versus just something which is a revenue grab.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there are probably a few places in the city that where it makes sense, but also with a system like that, it's also right for cities to try to make it into a cash grab and a gotcha. We need to keep it out of the gotcha and keep it into the arena of public safety. Because if you have a really crowded intersection where there's a lot of congestion, having a police officer there pulling people over probably only adds to the mess.
Right, makes it more dangerous.
But on the other hand, there are cities that do abuse privileges that are given to them, and that's why you have to come back, and when technology evolves, the law evolves too. But I think we'll be talking about this and dealing with it in the next couple of weeks.
Of the 5, hold on a second, Tony. Of the 5 red light cameras that I have gotten and have never paid, I think 4 of them are right on red violations of me not stopping long enough.
Right.
Which is sort of nitpicking. I mean, I get the safety feature of we don't want people going through red lights, but not stopping, coming to a full stop on a right on red is a little bit ticky-tack.
But it's against the law. So do you want to?
Short is, but so it's going 2 miles off the speed limit if we
Right.
start setting up cameras on that. I'm thinking more like
there's companies trying to do that too.
Yeah, there are some bad actors doing that.
Yeah. So
and so, but there are clearly intersections. And the one I think of it, like up around 270 and Olive, that whole area up in there at Dallas, that gets congested. Lights turn, people sit in intersections, they block the next flow of traffic from coming. Well, if you add a police officer to that mix, pulling people off to the side of the road, that's a problem.
Creve Coeur has done a phenomenal job with theirs, and that was a horrible problem. And they have actual statistics that show how it has better traffic. And you know what? I think what you are doing is the right thing to do, because MoDOT has processes in place where you're supposed to meet certain standards before you go ahead and deploy this kind of technology, either in red light camera or speed. And there are companies that aren't following that. And they are the ones that you do need to worry about. And the people who are painting the highway and setting up a camera on a bridge to try to catch speeders on the way to the airport. I mean,
right.
That does sort of, people lose all credibility when they do that. But I think if standards are in place, then that does make it better.
Part of the problem is those standards, as it relates to the speed cameras, have been in place, and the legislature did a good job of strengthening them a year ago in a bill that we wrote about on the editorial page, and it's interesting because as much as it pains me, the Post-Dispatch editorial board and John Deal are in relative agreement on this particular issue. We wrote an editorial a month or two ago endorsing the conservative Republican Iowa model, which basically says, hey, let's stop this for a moment. Let's go back and reassess. Make sure that this is more about safety than money, because this is where I disagree with Jane. It's more about money than it is about safety almost
so
everywhere.
Pot.
And the studies, and the pot is about money and freedom. but the studies are not that conclusive. There are a lot of studies nationally on this, and there are some positive safety elements. There are also some negative safety elements. I believe this is mostly about money, and I believe the legislature should provide some clarity at some point. And key to that clarity is developing standards, making it a high bar to come over, and limiting the amount of, this is what they've done with the speed cameras, but they haven't really enforced it, limiting the amount of revenue as a percentage of overall budget that a city can grab from these cameras.
But it also has to be.
I'm sorry, Tony, what we're doing, rather than looking at the overall budget, is a limit on what the infraction can cost.
And that's a municipal problem that isn't just relative to red light cameras. Do you want small municipalities surviving on this kind of stuff? And is that really good government to have these municipalities have 80% of their budget on a speed trap?
But what's inherently unfair is that I have 5 speed tickets. I haven't paid for one of them. Every 6 months, I get a letter from some law firm in Texas saying I owe $100. And there's no recourse for me. My insurance doesn't go up. I have no points on my license. I'm not getting booted. My insurance doesn't go up. They still don't look bad at me at church. I mean, there's no recourse since I haven't paid the red light cameras.
Well, you're an anomaly, though. I mean, and in the city, in their, and I think that's what you're talking about is the city of St. Louis, where you got at least most of yours. And they, despite people like you who are in the minority, most people do pay them, and most people don't. It's like 85% of people who get one don't get the second. Okay, so you're a special problem, but and we've known that for a while.
Next on the board meeting.
But I have a feeling that once time goes on and there maybe is more certainty, then I wouldn't not pay your stuff. It's never a good idea.
But
to ignore
if I
it.
don't pay my parking tickets, it goes up. I get a speeding ticket in Creve Coeur. Guess what? It goes up.
And the cities have the power to do that, and they haven't been doing it because they've been seeing the results without doing it. And I think what they're trying to show.
But it's inherently unfair that some people pay, others don't, and there's no recourse.
You don't get to complain about a penalty you don't have.
I'm one of Jane's statistics. I got one. It was in the city. It was one of those stupid right turn things.
Right.
I got it. I remembered when it happened. I probably did it. I paid it.
And you're going to likely follow the law,
Yeah.
and most people do that,
And
and
I'm
that's
like-
what it's for. It's to change behavior, and that's why I agree with John. If you reduce this to an infraction and you take some of that out of it, then we're dealing with just changing behavior, and we're not dealing with a perceived money grab. Some do it badly, but most of the cities have done this responsibly, and we just need to find the right balance.
Jane Duker, Tony Messer, John Deal, the board meeting in session on the Big 550 KTRS.